Question for you. How many times do you think that I restarted this intro? I'm probably on like take 10 right now, but that's okay. We're getting into it and we're gonna get started. Welcome back to my channel. It is your Saturday Chats with me, Alicia. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment, but also head to the link in the bio so you can subscribe to our Substack, Your Wellness Club. That's where I do a lot of my writing, where I give you my thoughts on my journey, finding my voice, but then also getting into the nitty-gritty of like my training, my business, and nutrition, and just finding that relationship with food that I've been trying to discover for a very long time, and feeling like I found that sweet spot, and I'm just continuing with it and I'm actually building a program for you guys to help you build a better relationship with food, because I looked at my journey and I've seen all the things that have worked, and now I'm putting it all together for you to follow. Anywho, this is a new day. We're here to have a new chat, to take out what's in my brain and put it out there. If you resonate, give me a comment. Tell me what you are resonating with, and if you're going through the same thing or if you've had that struggle. And if not, send this to a friend that you feel might need this chat. Cool. Let's get into it. Feeling very comfy today. We're going off of this one blog post that I read this morning, and it was a question. She was questioning herself about giving herself grace, giving her body grace, and just living in those moments, but also having that battle of wanting to know if at some point, if she was being lazy. And while I was reading this blog post, I was intrigued, because I had to sit and reflect and think about if what I've been doing in certain areas of my life, was that me actually giving myself grace, or was that me feeling comfortable with where I'm at, which then tends to lead to me thinking, am I being lazy? Now, giving yourself grace is not a bad thing. Giving yourself grace means that you're acknowledging where you're at, where your feet are grounded, and listening to your body. I am a strong advocate for listening to my own body, because of the fact that I've seen myself on two spectrums. I've seen myself physically and mentally distraught because I was ignoring all the signs that my body was telling me. But then I've seen myself on the other side of the spectrum, where I'm listening, I'm engaging, and I'm honing into everything that I need. And I feel amazing. My focus is there and I'm energized. Today, I'm in between that spectrum. And not because I read this blog post that has me in this reflection mode, but because of the fact that there are days where I know I just need to give myself that rest. I know that I need to take it very slow in order for me to feel productive and still get things done without throwing everything out the window. So I feel like I'm in this small spectrum of the line today, where I've seen myself again on both sides. And when I'm on the spectrum where I throw everything out the window, I sit in this slump. I tell myself that I'm just giving my body grace when it's me just being lazy and comfortable with where I'm at. I start to overanalyze and nitpick at everything. And I don't like that. I wrote in my journal last night that I love seeing my growth in a lot of things that I do, because when I see old self start to come up, as long as I've acknowledged what's happening and I see it happening, that is growth to me. Now let's backtrack into understanding giving yourself grace and why that is okay. It's okay to give yourself grace because you're not in a rat race with anybody. The only person that you are trying to be better for is you. And once you start to understand that, you'll start to realize that trying to follow what other people are doing is not going to work for you. It's going to constantly work against you. So don't think that you need to be in this rat race with anyone. Think about what you need. Think about what your body needs in the given moments every single day when you wake up. When I listen to my body, I understand, okay, my energy is super low right now. But when I know or I feel that my energy is low, there are two things, or maybe there are multiple things that I can do, but I always end up doing two things. I always end up asking myself, okay, when was the last time I ate, or did I eat anything at all? Does my body need rest, or do I need to move my body? Am I okay with being where I need to be? That was actually 3 questions, not 2. But you get the point. There are days where giving myself grace is me saying, I don't need to move my body in this fashion right now. I just need to rest. My body is literally telling me to stay here, lay in this bed, curl up just a little bit longer, turn off your alarm for an early wake up and just push it back a little bit. Sleep in. Maybe going to the gym is not what you need right now. Maybe going for a nice little brisk walk or a long walk or moving your body in a slow motion is what you need. Last year, when I took some time off of the gym, at first, I knew that's exactly what I needed. And I saw the difference within my body. My lower back pain started to go away. There's no more back pain when I lift, which is amazing. My sternum pain is completely gone. I started honing into lighter things, going outside more, spending more time with nature, enjoying doing things with my hand, finding new hobbies. I think I put a lot of attachment to strength training and thinking that that is who I am, when I took that step back for a few months, actually for the full year. I started to realize that I was more than just a personal trainer. I was more than just a nutritionist. There are so many other things that elude me, so many other things that make me who I am. I just needed to take that time to delve into it. But then I started noticing some things that I realized that was me making excuses because I got comfortable. As much as I was going to my hot yoga classes, going for my hikes, finding new love for doing Pilates and all those things, I knew that I was kind of itching back or wanting to get into strength training because that's where I thrive. My body loved that. I was also scared. Not scared of injuring myself again or feeling pain. I was scared of losing the routine that I built up to love and finding myself ditching all of that stuff that I learned as I started to go back into the gym. So I tiptoe myself in the gym for maybe 2-3 weeks to a month and then be like, oh, I'm easing myself into it. Like, I'm just listening to my body. That's where I found myself giving the excuses and kind of realizing I was very comfortable with what I was doing. And there's no wrong to that. But I was also realizing that there's a pattern within my personality where if I start being good at something, and then I bring in something else, I tend to lose or forget what I was doing beforehand that brought me or got me to the space where I'm at. And in my mind, I start feeling like I'm becoming lazy. If I put in my calendar, okay, I'm going to do yoga, and yoga doesn't happen, I'd ask myself, okay, was that me giving myself grace because I didn't need to do it, or was that me being lazy? And I found myself being lazy because I was neglecting something that helped me for a full year, because I added back in something else, my strength training. And I was using the excuse of, I need to rest my body because I just did a heavy lifting the day before and my body feels sore. While knowing that doing slow movement like yoga, holding poses, allowing my body to feel deep breaths and stretch was what got me stronger again to be able to lift and do what I'm doing again now. So there's that fine tuning about giving your body grace and knowing when you're actually giving your body grace, but then also becoming very comfortable in things and also neglecting and removing things because you think that you're okay. I didn't get back to where I'm at today with my training and moving my body just by sitting here and doing nothing. And sometimes we can forget all the things that we built up to get us to where we're at so we can continue thriving in something else. I don't want to thrive in strength training and thrive in other areas of my life and forget the things that help me get there. And I think that a lot of us do that, where we tend to forget what got us to the position where we're at. And this doesn't only have to be or be about with, I'm like tripping over my words right now. This doesn't have to only be about strength training. I'm using that as an example for myself and moving my body the way that I love. But when you think about other things, like maybe something for your career or a new hobby that you were interested in and you got really good at it, but you forget to pay homage to how you develop those skills, So when I think about my last year's journey, I started to realize that I tend to do this thing of using things to help me build up and then removing it as if it never existed. So now I feel so much better because when I did this reflection and I'm like, oh, like that's a great pattern to notice about yourself. But also seeing the groove that I've been in now lately, giving myself grace when I need it, but also staying in a pattern or staying in a routine for myself with my strength training coming back, and then still having those small things that were actually big things for me to help me build my strength and maintain my strength while I was on a long rest from training. So my routine looks different a little bit each week, but I'm still following like a 4-week program. But then I'm also adding in my yoga and my walking and my sauna days as well. And I feel so much more complete realizing how you can intertwine everything all at once in an organized way that is helping you give yourself grace without feeling like you are comfortable or being lazy. I grew up with a background of being an athlete. I grew up a competitive gymnast, a competitive cheerleader, powerlifting, bodybuilding, all of that stuff. And I got so connected to those sports, thinking that again was who I was and not being able to see myself in a different light. It's okay to take time away from things in order for you to rediscover you. And I feel like 2025 for me is a year to rediscover myself and taking everything that I learned about myself last year and continuing it on. Now that I found a good groove within my routine for myself, not to say that nothing's going to change. Things change every single day. You just have to be able to adapt to it and be able to look at it and be like, okay, well, this time is not going to work. I can move this here and I'll be okay and I can still do it there. It doesn't mean that I have to constantly go into a gym facility to do a workout. I could do my workout at home. I could do my yoga at home. I could do so many things here if that's going to allow me to stay within my routine and make me feel good. I do a lot of things to make myself feel good because I'm honing into the feeling, not the aesthetic look to what it is that's happening. I was very attached to the look aspect of it. I totally forgot to acknowledge how I was feeling. Now I'm in this reverse where I acknowledge what I am feeling first before I even think twice about what I look like, because I know that the look is going to be there. Whatever it is that I'm trying to achieve is going to accumulate itself, because when you hone into how things make you feel, it's going to reflect on the outside externally. And we tend to forget that. And sometimes we weren't taught that in specific ways. We are usually taught things backwards. We tend to see things externally before we do things internally. I work with a lot of clients that I have to navigate them to understand what's happening inside first, how they are feeling, how this is making them feel, what they can do to make it better in order for them to see a change externally, physically and mentally. The way you think is going to make you see things differently. How you move your body, how you put the foods that you choose to eat is going to change things internally first before you start seeing it externally. It's just about the journey and like taking your time. And within the journey is learning how to give yourself grace and be okay where you are at, being where your feet are at, but also knowing the difference between being lazy and giving yourself grace. I really enjoyed reading and going through that blog just because of the fact that sometimes I forget to take that step back and just acknowledge that aspect about so many things that I'm working on for myself, because you can get lost in the journey and you don't want to get too lost where you don't even know or remember the why behind it all. If you can take a step back constantly or once a week, I take a step back every single day, and this is where my journaling comes in. And it's just to acknowledge where I am at in my journey. I don't think 10 years ago I would be where I am today and doing all the things that I do now. And I forget that all the skills that I've accumulated throughout the years has brought me here. And I've acknowledged that, and I'm very proud of myself about that. And I hope that you can sit down and acknowledge that about yourself and be proud too, because everything that you do is for a reason. Everything that you learn is for a reason as well. And you take those skills and you build them up into where you need to be. Every day is not going to be perfect. It's not going to look exactly how you've written it down if you're a planner. But you have to be able to say, I'm okay to take time to slow it down just a little bit. And within that slow nature, it'll bring me back to who I was or who I want to become. Last year, I took time to slow down, gave myself grace, built up new skills. I've perfected, and I'm going to say that word very loosely, perfection, the skills that I've already had. And within all of that, I started to see things that I wasn't noticing about myself before. I'm not lazy. And I need you to understand that you're not lazy too when you decide to give yourself grace or you decide to sit in what feels comfortable. But you do have a choice. You do have a choice in acknowledging where that feeling is coming from, asking yourself some questions, and acting on those said answers that you've given yourself so you can move forward. It's okay to give yourself grace, but it's also okay to acknowledge where you're at on that spectrum and understanding the difference between the two. And if you're in the middle, like how I'm in the middle today, that is okay. I'm okay with being in the middle because one, I was able to pick up this camera and start talking to you all. Even though my energy might not be at 100, but it's definitely not at 0. But I knew that if I didn't act, I wouldn't do, and that would probably put me at the spectrum of feeling like I am being or I am a lazy person, which I know I'm not. But I'm able to give myself grace within all of this of what I'm feeling and still do at least 1 to 2 things that's going to propel me forward in all the goals that I have for myself. So I acknowledge all the time of everything that I do, and I hope that you can acknowledge all the things that you do because that's where growth lives. That is where your growth lies. If you can acknowledge the feelings that you are feeling and understand grace and giving grace to yourself looks different for everybody as long as you understand what that spectrum is. So yeah, give yourself grace when you need to. Acknowledge at every point that you can and ask yourself some questions. Is this where you need to be? How is this making you feel? Did you do at least one thing today that made you take a step forward? You're not lazy. You just need to understand there are areas in your life that need to be worked on and acknowledged. I hope this conversation helped you. It did help me. I always find myself going off of the trail of where we're supposed to be talking, but I think within all of that, I get my point across. So if it sounds like Rambo Jambo, that is okay. This is open talks as always. But if any of this resonated with you, leave a comment. I'm here to inspire. I'm here to get you to ask yourself the hard questions. I've been working on this for myself for a very long time, and it's now time that I share and that we have this open communication. So if this is something that you've been going through or something that you've been feeling, leave a comment. Let's share and be okay with putting ourselves out there. See you guys next week for Saturday Chats. Bye.